Even having once heard it, the people who do not know the ever-living word always go on as they were before hearing it. For, all things coming to be through the word, they seem ignorant when they try to dissect the kinds of words and deeds I have laid out and tell the way each thing is on its own. But other people are as unwitting of what they do while awake as of the forgotten deeds of their sleep. Despite the word being universal, the many live as though they had their own special logic. The sun's size is the width of a human foot. If happiness were in the body's pleasures, we would call kine happy when they find a beanstalk to munch on. Or else they purify themselves by defiling themselves through blood, like if someone who stepped in mud washes off his feet with mud. If any person came upon him doing so, they would suppose him to be mad. And they pray to these statues, like if someone were to chat with their house, not understanding what gods or heroes are. The sun is new each day. If the whole world turned to smoke, nostrils would decide things. The withershins, fitting together with and apart from the normal goings-on, are become the fairest harmony, and all this through discord. Since a horse's pleasure and a dog's and a human's are different, donkeys would prefer scraps rather than gold, for fodder is more pleasing to donkeys than gold. Holes, at all and not at all, teeming and torn, ever even and at odds, and out of the everything comes one, and out of the one comes everything. For every beast is driven to pasture by blows. They step into the same rivers, but other and otherer waters run on. Swine delight in soilage rather than clean water. For the mysteries practiced by humans involve most unholy initiations. For if it were not for Dionysos that they held a parade and sang an ode to the privates, it were the most shameless deed being performed. But Dionysos, for whom they go crazy and celebrate the Lenaia, is the same as Hades. How would someone hide from that which never sets? For many do not realize when they come across such things, nor do they even understand when they are shown, though they imagine themselves to. If one does not expect the unexpected, one will not find it, it being unsearchable and inscrutable. They knew not how to listen nor speak. Having been born, they want to live and stick to their lots, and more than this, to rest, and they leave behind children to take up their own lots. All we see while awake is death, just as all we see while asleep is sleep. For those looking for gold dig up much earth and find but little. People would never have come to know the name of justice if all this were not so. Gods honor those slain by Ares just as men do. For greater dooms get greater lots. At night a human strikes up a light for themselves, having died and been snuffed from sight, and being yet alive. Sleeping and snuffed from sight, they alight upon those who have died. Having awoken, they alight upon the sleeping. What awaits people who have died is something they neither hope for nor expect. Even the worthiest man is only aware of fantasies, and these he closely wears. Yet justice will natheless catch up with the crafters and dealers of lies. Even the best among them choose one thing over all else, everlasting fame among mortals, but the many are sated like kine. This cosmos, the same for everyone, was not wrought by any among gods or men, but always was and is and shall be an ever-living fire, with fathoms alight and fathoms aquist. Fire's shiftings are firstly sea, half of sea being earth and half being tempest. The sea melts away and is measured by the same reckoning as before it became earth. There is only one wise, which both likes and does not like to be called God. And the law is to obey one's will. True unwits are like deaf-mutes even when they hear. They are living proof of the saying, to be absent when present. Men who would love wisdom well must inquire into very many things. It is death for souls to become water, and death for water to become earth. But out of earth comes water, and out of water comes soul. Swine are washed by mire, farm fowl by dust or cinder. But it seems, according to some, Thales was the first to practice astronomy, and both Herakleitos and Democritus vouch for him. Bias Theutames' son from Priene is of greater account than all others. Much learning does not make the mind taut, for such would have taught Hesiodus and Pythagoras, as well as Xenophanes and Herakleitos. One thing wisdom is, to know the mind, which churns everything together with everything else. Homer ought rightly to be stricken from the lists and struck with a stick, and Archilochos too. Hubris needs quenching more than hayfire. The people must fight for the sake of law as for the city wall. You could not go about finding the soul's edges by traveling any which way, so deep is its whist. Belief is both a spiritual disorder and a wily pseudo-sight. Let us not speculate wildly about the greatest things. Bow, the archer's arch, sounds like boon, but it reeks bale and bane. One is worth 10,000 to me if he be the best. Into the same rivers we step and step not. We are and are not. Listen not to me but to the word, to reach the understanding that all is one. They do not pick up on how the unlike reconciles with itself. Sundry things dovetail, whether it were a longbow or a bull lyre. Time is a child playing at draughts. The chief power is a child's. War is the father of all and the ruler of all, for truly some he has shown to be gods and some humans, some he has made slaves and some free. The unseen connecting threads are the more readily apparent. As much as may be seen, heard, and learned, these things I hold most highly. People have been misled regarding the understanding of basic things, in a likewise as Homer, who even so was wiser than all the Greeks, for children-killing lice tricked him, saying, "Whatever we see and catch, these we leave behind, but whatever we neither see nor catch, we take with us." But most people's teacher is Hesiodus. Him they believe to have known the most, the one who does not understand day and night, for they are one. Both good and ill are one. The doctors, then, cutting, burning, and probing the sick meanly all over, further ask the sick for a payment they by no means deserve, working at once the agathis and the agonizing. The scribe's direct and winding paths are one and the same. The way up and the way down are one and the same. Seawater is the cleanest and the dirtiest. While to fish it is drinkable and life-giving, to humans it is undrinkable and death-dealing. The undying die, the dying undie. Living is the one's death as dying is the other's life. But in reality, when they rise back up, they keep a lively watch over the quick and the dead. And the thunderbolt steers everything. And one calls the same thing woad and wile. For fire, rushing on, parses and pierces all. The god is day and night, winter and summer, war and peace, fullness and hunger. But it changes like fire does when it is mixed with spices, being called according to the savor of each. Thus the life-giving heat proceeding from the sun supplies life to all that lives. Going along with which sentiment, Herakleitos gives a most fitting analogy, with a spider for the soul and the spider's web for the body. Just as the spider, he says, standing in the middle of the web, feels as soon as a fly disturbs any of her threads and swiftly runs thither as if pained by the breaking of the thread, so the human soul, any part of the body being wounded, hastily reaches thither as if unable to bear the wound of the body to which it is firmly and proportionally yoked. And because of this, Herakleitos aptly refers to these as salves, for they cure all ills and effectively purge the souls of misfortunes by the root. Therefore there are two kinds of sacrifices, those from completely purified people, such as seldom happens in any case. He considered human beliefs to be children's toys. But keep in mind also the one who forgets where the path leads. They are at odds with the thing with which they are in most constant contact, the word which enhouses everything, and the things they meet with throughout the day appear foreign to them. There is no need to act and speak as if asleep, for even then we are said to act and speak. There is no need to be like parents' children, that is, stark naked, the way it has been handed down to us. The sleeping are at work, working together on the goings-on of the cosmos. Fire's death begets air, and air's death begets water. Whence Herakleitos says it is either pleasure or death for souls to get wet, and it is a pleasure for them to fall into a birth, and elsewhere he says we live their death and they live our death. For the human ethos has no understanding, but the divine ethos does. A childish man listens to a spirit the way a child listens to an adult. It must be known that war is common and strife is the rule, and everything comes into being through strife and need. He is the originator of the choppers. Others called the art of speech choppers, including Timaeus in his writings. So it would seem that Pythagoras did not actually invent the true choppers, nor did the one alleged by Herakleitos, but that Herakleitos himself is making a false claim. The fairest ape is ugly compared with humankind. The wisest human will seem an ape to God, in wisdom and fairness and everything else. Change is rest. It is wearying to toil for and be ruled by the same things. It is hard to fight with the heart, for whatever it wants comes at the cost of the soul. But most of the gods' deeds, according to Herakleitos, escape notice due to disbelief. The foolish man loves to get hung up on every word. It is the same thing inside both the living and the dead, the wakened and the sleeping, the young and the old, for these are turned into those, and those are turned into these in turn. Herakleitos says there is one shared world for the waking, but each of the sleeping is tucked away into a world of their own. All things are interchangeable with fire, and fire with all things, the way goods are with gold, and gold with goods. For according to Herakleitos, one cannot step into the same river twice, nor touch any mortal substance twice in the same state. But due to the sharpness and quickness of change, it scatters and joins back together, or rather, not one after the other, but at the same time it comes together and splits up. It comes about and goes away. But according to Herakleitos, the Sibyl, with maddened mouth, uttering grave things completely unsugar-coated, reaches across 1,000 years with her voice with the help of the god. The Lord whose oracle is at Delphi neither lays it all out nor lies, but rather gives a sign. Helios will not overstep his bounds, and if he does, the Erineis, Dike's helpers, will find out about it. It is better to hide stupidity. For corpses are more fit to be thrown out than dung. For dogs bark at what they do not understand. Souls feed on smell in Hades. If there were no sun, it would be night because of the other stars. Orbits, of which the sun is ward and overseer, marking out, spurring on, showing off, and lighting up the changes and the seasons, which bring everything, according to Herakleitos. I have sought myself. for the eyes are more acute witnesses than the ears. Whereas to the god all is fair and good and right, humans hold some things to be wrong and some right. For in a circle's circumference, the beginning and the end are shared. For where is their thought or will? They believe the popular singers and would call the crowd their teacher, not knowing that the many are bad and but few good. He calls Homer an astronomer. Herakleitos rebuked Hesiodus for reckoning good and bad days, failing to understand that every day's nature is the same. Eyes and ears are poor witnesses to people who have barbarous souls. With as many words as I have heard, no one has yet hit upon this, to know what wisdom is apart from everything else. It is better to hide stupidity than to put it on display. It is not good for people to get whatever they want. Sickness makes health all the sweeter, as hunger with fullness and toil rest. Moderation is the greatest virtue, and wisdom is to speak and act the truth, giving heed to nature. Thinking is common to all. Those who would speak with sense must hold to what is common to all, the way a city holds to its laws, only more strongly. For all the human laws are fed by the one divine one, for it prevails as far as it will. It is enough, and is overmuch. The word of the soul is self-feeding. It behooves all humans to know themselves and to live moderately. Whenever a man gets drunk, he brings himself down below a juvenile child, staggering, not knowing which way he is going, being soaked through to the soul. The sun-dry soul is wisest and best. Herakleitos said that a person's character is their fate. The boundary between east and west is the bear, and across from the bear, ethereal twos urus. All Ephesians, teenaged or older, ought to hang themselves and leave the city to their young for having kicked out Hermodoros, the most useful man among them, saying, "Let there never be any one of us who is the most useful, and if there is, let him go be among others somewhere else." Hash it out. Nature loves to hide. This haphazard trash heap is the fairest cosmos, says Herakleitos. Even porridge stratifies when unstirred. May your wealth never leave you, Ephesians, he said, so that your wickedness may be exposed. The cold is made hot, the hot cold. The wet is made dry, the dry wet. The same one said to the Egyptians, "If they are gods, why do you mourn them? For if you mourn them, you must no longer believe them to be gods." Herakleitos, upon seeing the Hellenes portioning out offerings to the spirits, said, "They pray to the spirits unhearing, ungiving statues, as if they could hear, as if they demanded it." Pythagoras, Mnesarchos' son, practiced inquiry more than all other humans and turned his choicest findings into a personal philosophy. Much knowledge, but poor craft. Herakleitos says that Pythagoras was a wise and much learned man, and that he recalled having been born as a human before, and in another birth to have taken to the sea with a form like a fish and a dog. It is not advantageous to be ridiculous in such a way that you yourself seem ridiculous. Indeed, Herakleitos said the idea of progress is an impediment. Honors hold both gods and humans in thrall. Evil humans are enemies of the truth. Education is a second son for the educated. He said the shortest route to a good reputation is being good. Timely grace heals the need of the soul, exactly as a ready meal does hunger. He writes, in any case, "Surely it is all fated." What kind of trail will you blaze in this life? Since some say the stars hold steady from the beginning, as far back as the Maker wills.